Welcome to my Introduction to Networking course, typically abbreviated ITN. This will be for the CCNA version 7 curriculum. Welcome, this is ITN version 7, packet tracer file 13.2.7, using ping and traceroute to test network connectivity. Alright, so first we have our address chart. I'm going to readjust my window. Alright, that way I can read everything. We do have a completion, so that does mean we're probably going to be entering commands. So we're going to be testing and restoring IPv4 connectivity and testing and restoring IPv6 connectivity. Those are the two objectives. The scenario. There are connectivity issues in this activity. In addition to gathering and documenting information about the network, you will locate problems and implement an acceptable solution to restore connectivity. The exec password is Cisco. The privilege exec password is class. User exec, that means the user login. And then when we go to our enable or our privilege exec mode, it will be class. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Alright. Part 1. Test and restore IPv4 connectivity. Step 1. We want to use PC1 to collect information to address the table. Alright, PC1. Command prompt. IP config. Here is our IPv4 address. Here is our default gateway. Here is our subnet mask. Our address chart. PC1. There's our IP, subnet, place for our default gateway. I'm just recording this off of my screen, but I have this diagram off my screen. I'm just writing out the addresses. So that completes A and B. Click PC3. Do the same thing. IP config. This one is 10.10.1.18. Subnet 255.255.255.240. Default gateway 10.10.1.17. Alright, so again, record that and document it. Why are we doing just PC1 and PC3? You'll notice on the address chart, you'll notice on our diagram, IPv4 on top, IPv6 on bottom. If you notice our diagram, we have a combination of IPv4 and IPv6s. So the bottom ones are for IPv6. And that's just an example. You don't always have to do that. It's just for this lab, that's what they did. Alright, so step 2, locate the source of connectivity failure. From PC1, enter the necessary commands to trace the route to PC3. Alright, so in earlier labs we talked about Traceroute, and we will Traceroute 10.10.1.18, 10.10.1.97, we got it to the LAN interface of R1. And they're just timing out. That tells me R1 does not seem to be processing the traffic. So what is the last successful IPv4 address that was reached? 10.10.1.97, which happens to be the gig 01 interface of the router. Alright, so we've done that. The traceroute will eventually terminate, or you can do Control-C to kill it. From PC3, enter the necessary information to see. So we're trying to go this way. We're trying to go from PC1 to PC3, and we only got this far. So let's go from PC3 to see how far we can get. Trace RT 10.10.1.98. We can get to R3. 10.10.1.17. So that tells me that they're not processing between R1 and R3. Control C. So we're going on to part E. We're going to log into R1. I've already increased my my font size. First password is Cisco. Enable. Next password is class. So we need to do a show IP interface brief to see what's going on. Well, we do see that 10.10.1.97 is up and up. So one should have been recorded in step 2A. That would be the 10.10.1.97. And then the other address is 10.10.1.6. So here we have on this interface 10.10.1.6, which that tells me on R2 that would be 10.10.1.5. And there's /30s, so enter the show IP route command that lists the networks to which the router is connected. There are 2 networks connected to serial 001. Show IP route. We have 10.10.1.4/30 and we have 10.10.1.6/32. Repeat steps 2E and 2G on R3. So again, as we do this, I'm actually making sure to write down these on a piece of paper next to me. That just kind of helps me. Show IP int brief. Addresses, we already know 10.10.1.17. That was our default gateway for our LAN. And now I'm seeing a 10.10.1.10 address on serial 001. That's a new address. Show IP route. We have 2 addresses on serial 001. That's 10.10.1.8/30. And we have the direct specific address 10.10.1.10/32. That just lets you know it's not a range, where 30 is a range of addresses. That's showing the range. And this is showing the specific direct address. That's why it has a /32. Oftentimes no one ever talks about the /32. That's why I wanted to kind of point that out. Alright, so that completes H. Step 2, I. We need to connect to R2. Cisco, enable, class. And from here, show IP int brief, and we can see the addresses 10.10.1.2, 10.10.1.9. Run more tests if it helps visualize the problem. One of the things that I'm looking at is actually I'm going to move these out the way. To connect R1 and R2, we have a 10.10.1.4 address. So, .4 is the network ID. That means the usable addresses, .4 is the network ID, usable is .5 and .6, and the broadcast is .7. Well, we don't have that. We have a .2. which is actually not even inside that network range. So between R1 and R2, we're not getting connectivity because that is the wrong IP address. I'm getting ahead of myself because step 3, propose a solution. What's the problem? What's the error? Well, the error is R2 serial interface is configured with the wrong IP address. We need to configure the correct IP address on the R2 serial interface. Step 4, implement the plan. Alright, conf t int serial 0000 no IP address 10.10.1.1.2 IP address 10.10.1.5 subnet. Oh, I don't know. 252. It's a /30, so I did 30. Alright. It should form a new adjacency. Make sure it's up, which it should be. Alright. Verify connectivity from PC1 to PC3 and from PC3 to PC1. Go back to my command prompt. I'm going to hit the up arrow. I want to do traceroute between PC1 to PC3. Oh, lo and behold, it gets all the way there. PC3 to PC1, I'm going to do the IP address of PC1. And lo and behold, it goes all the way there. Did this resolve the problem? Yes, it did. We had the wrong IP address on serial 000 on R2. Alright, moving past that, we're going to go to part 2, testing network connectivity with IPv6. I'm going to go to PC2, ipconfig. Yes, you can do IPv6 config, and you can grab just the IPv6 details. However you want to do that, you can do that. Here's the IP address. PC4, ipconfig, IPv6 config, and there's our details. Alright, so we got this, we got this, we got this. Test connectivity between the two machines. PC2, ping, PC4. Doesn't work. PC4, the PC2. Does not work. Alright, so that completes part 2, step 1. Part 2, step 2, from PC2, do whatever you need to do a trace route between PC2 and PC4. Alright, that's what I will do. Trace RT. We get to the third hop, and then it fails. I'm going to do the same thing from PC4 to PC2. from PC2 to PC4, what's the last reachable address? 2001 DB813::2. No IPv6 address was reached after that. Click our repeat the steps from PC4, going back to PC2. Again, we're not getting anything. I'm going to move those off to the side. We've already done this. We've already done this. So now we are step 2E. Click on R3, because R4, going to R3, we got nothing. We didn't even get to the router. So, R3. Enter the show IPv6 brief command. Show IP int brief. That only shows IPv4. We need to do show IPv6. And we can see that serial 001 is administratively down. Is there a discrepancy? Yes. There is an interface that is down. So, run more tests. I'm going to go back to PC3 and I want to see the IP config details. So default gateway is FE80.2. Oh, that's another one that's weird, is the router IP address is : 3, not .2. So we need to go ahead and fix that. Let's IP config it again. Alright, address is now complete. Can we trace route? We can now trace route. We can now go back and forth. R3, I want to see if... Oh, you know what? I'm kind of special. When I looked at it, I said administratively down. That was for VLAN 1. The error here was the default gateway was the wrong address. Administrative down was for VLAN 1. So what was the error? Wrong default gateway. What was the solution? Implement the correct default gateway. We implement that by reconfiguring PC4 to use the correct default gateway. Connectivity from PC4 to PC2 was complete. From PC2 to PC4 is also now complete. Completion is 100%. We'll check results. Everything is showing complete. That completes this lab.
If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. Again, with this material, being able to ask questions and discuss some of the topics in the lecture help build long-term retention, so do not be afraid to communicate with this topic. Again, I'm here if you need anything. Thank you.